Welcome to NewYorkTrue.com. Last night, El Diario, the Hispanic Federation, and Hostos Community College hosted a mayoral forum. 7 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and 1 Independence Party candidate participated. In this segment, the candidates discussed the city's waste disposal plan, and specifically a planned waste transfer station on East 91st Street in Manhattan. That transfer station will send dozens or even hundreds of trucks each day through Asphalt Green, a heavily used swimming and recreation center. Even though Asphalt Green and the transfer station are in Manhattan, it's a big issue for many Bronx residents who feel that affluent Manhattan neighborhoods escape their burden at the expense of the Bronx. The segment begins with Bill Thompson answering a question on the topic. An unusual scene then develops, with candidates engaged in a direct, extended discussion with each other. It features meaningful disputes on facts and differing policy conclusions, but also includes personal frictions and a couple of loopy non sequiturs.
Latino communities have long been overburdened with land-based waste transfer stations that harm air quality. You have criticized the city's solid waste management plan, and you want to exclude the marine transfer station under construction at East 91st Street in Manhattan. Then what is your plan to address this inequity?
The first thing, because, and you know, if you look throughout my career, I have been an advocate, have fought for clean and safe drinking water, protection of wetlands, reservoirs, and a vocal advocate for environmental justice to decrease health disparities in the city of New York, particularly in communities of color. To say that first, the 91st Street waste transfer site, the marine transfer site, it, number one, probably has, if you look at the number of minority people in that community, and it is a affluent, in some ways, an affluent community. At the same point, if you look at, number of the housing authority development nearby, they are seriously impacted by it also. The site itself, go visit the site. It bisects a development for children, Asphalt Green. The ramp runs down the middle of Asphalt Green. There are a number of children who use that, hundreds if not thousands of children who use that site each and every day. A number of those children are from East Harlem and other places, also from the public school system, who use it during the day. It is a bad site. So because that is a bad site, it isn't the only site in town, and it's not the only site in Manhattan. I'm a believer that we should, one of the things I'd said is, we shouldn't reopen the 135th Street site, which I know others have advocated. We're against doing that, and we need to move forward in reducing the number of sites in African American and Latino communities. It is environmentally fair to be able to do that. So because there is one site that I disagree with, and know to be able to move things around, you need to look at other sites as part of the larger solid waste plan. I said I'd take a look at that, but that site is a bad site. There's nothing that changes that. And because I believe that also that other neighborhoods have been impacted, other Black and Latino communities, and I want to see those communities treated fairly. It doesn't mean that we should move forward with that site.
Thank you. Let's give a chance to Mr. Carrion. He wants to address this issue.
You can't have it both ways. We fought hard to make sure that every borough in the city of New York carries its fair share. The Bronx is tired. The Bronx and parts of Brooklyn are tired of being dumped on. I think that we, and every person who has lived in the South Bronx, who has been an advocate for the South Bronx, who has tried to clean up the environment, to deal with asthma, to deal with all the other issues that we've dealt with down here, there's no way in the world that we're going to change what we accomplished in this comprehensive waste management plan. Now, what we need to do is we need to give the burden to the people of Manhattan and say, you know what, and this is what I would do as mayor of New York. There's a site on 35th Street on the west side, right, just south of the Circle Line. Let's go re-examine that old warehouse over there where we keep the tow pound and cars and all that stuff. But Manhattan has to carry its fair share of the garbage.
Adolfo, and the one thing, and let me be honest, I'm not looking to decrease Manhattan in what they need to accept as responsibility. But it also doesn't mean that one site that is a bad site should be moved forward on. So we need to create fairness and equity, but not in just that one site.
Mr. Winner.
There's an important fact getting left out here. The trash that is going to this proposed new site is not going to be diverted away from the Bronx. The trash that is coming to that site is coming from 4 districts, residential, it's coming from, let me just make my point, 4 districts that now get in the truck, go to the edge of Manhattan Island, and go to New Jersey.
Over the bridge.
Actually, it's a tunnel. It's a tunnel. The commercial sites, people are going to dump and tip at wherever they get the best rate for the commercial dump. So if we, listen, just look, we are going to pay $200 million that is not going to go into economic development anywhere, not going to go into schools anywhere, so we can have a bumper sticker to say we opened one in Manhattan. Notwithstanding the fact that Manhattan is bordered on both sides by water, we're sending it to New Jersey. Send it over the tunnel, the bridge, to New Jersey. Don't put it in a ferry. Don't put it on a boat, which, by the way, spews far more toxins than any truck, and then take it down to Staten Island just to make a point. You have it in the trucks. Keep it on the trucks. It goes to the water and then leaves. It does not go to the Bronx. Anyone who tells you otherwise is not being honest with you.
Ms. Quinn.
Let's actually be honest about the facts here. In 2006, the City Council, after decades of no fair movement around solid waste, passed a solid waste management plan. That plan is based in part on borough self-sufficiency and in part on using the rivers to get diesel trucks off of our street. Using the rivers are better for air quality. This plan has been held up in court almost exclusively by the opponents of East 91st Street. So if you pull any one site out, the entire plan falls apart. And what does that mean? That means...
That is not true.
It is true.
That is not true. There are others, we can find other sites. That is not true.
It would keep going the way
It just keeps going in New Jersey.
And well, let's talk about where it goes right now. 13 sites in East Williamsburg. The 91st Street garbage will keep going through Harlem, down the west side, and to New Jersey. Is that fair to Harlem, a neighborhood with a higher asthma rate than the Upper East Side?
We can find other sites, and right now it does not impact the Bronx and others.
First of all, we looked for sites, and the 35th Street site cost $310 million more. There's going to be one on the west side in my district, and I made a point of that when we passed the solid waste management plan to make sure there was one in my district in the West Village, because I wasn't going to put something in somebody else's district that I wasn't willing to place in mine. This is a plan, and if you pull a piece out of it, the plan falls apart. Why do I know that? Because we have yet to implement it because of the court case. We will move backwards, not forward in air quality if we don't implement the solid waste management plan, and that will mean asthma rates in Harlem, the Bronx, and Brooklyn.
Mr. de Blasio.
Yeah, I have to say, with absolute respect for Bill Thompson, you can't have it both ways on this issue. The fact is, you need a 5-borough plan.
Yes, you do.
And wait, let me finish. When I voted for this plan, I knew that one of the stations would be within walking distance of my home at Hamilton Avenue. And that it was fair to ask each and every part of the community of the city to shoulder the burden. You cannot take one piece out of the plan and then say to everyone else, you have to keep shouldering the burden, but one part of the city no longer has to shoulder the burden. You have to treat people equally, part one. Part two, yes, in fact, here's where I'll agree with Bill Thompson. There are some challenges at that site at 91st Street. I think the Bloomberg administration, per usual, has not been willing to listen to neighborhood residents and offer some real solutions. But the site has to stay there. There's no two ways about it. We can help to mitigate the impact on Asphalt Green. We can help to make sure children are safe. But you cannot move that site without tearing down a 5-borough plan we need for the good of our city.
Thank you. Mr. Salgado. I'll go back to you, Mr. Salgado.
I was born over here in the Bronx, and when I was 2 years old, my parents didn't have no choice but to take me to Puerto Rico because I was born with chronic asthma. It is unacceptable to have the rate of asthma in the Bronx between the transfers facility and the pollution from the Cross Bronx, it is unacceptable. Many children are living to Kissimmee, to New Jersey, to other places. It is only a human right for a person to actually live in the place that the person was born. This is my personal issue, and I think we have too many transfers facility in the Bronx, and we have to find other places to put them as well.
Thank you. Mr. Albanese, he wants to say something about it.
Just a point of order. My colleague Bill de Blasio, we both live in Brooklyn. Hamilton Avenue is not within walking distance of your house. I mean, it's pretty far away.
Sal.
Let's tell the truth here, Bill.
No, Sal, I have long tolerated your reconfigurations of truth. I actually could walk easily from my house at 11th Street and 6th Avenue to the Hamilton Avenue station. I guarantee
Are you trying to compare that to
I guarantee it, Sal. You can come walk with me one day.
Hey, Bill, I was born in Brooklyn,
All right,
Bill.
the question was the impact of these transfer stations in our neighborhoods. Let's stick to that, please. Mr. McDonald?
Yes, 15 years ago, there was a waste transfer station there, and they closed it. And then people from that community and all over New York invested tens of millions of dollars in asphalt green for children, 2 of whom happen to be my grandchildren. Well, they go there every Saturday and play ball with a lot of other low-income people in the neighborhood. They have swimming programs. I mean, you can knock it, but the investment that was made on the basis of a promise by the city of New York that there wouldn't be a transfer station there. So you have to recognize, unfortunately, the rights of those people, just like you want your rights recognized.
You know something? Look, just to close.
Yes.
In the end, it is a bad site, because one site comes out doesn't mean that another site within Manhattan can be substituted, and that's the reality. So, in all due respect, it is a bad site. It needs not to move forward in, and we just, as I said, and in the end, as I said, it's not a good site, period.
Thank you. Moving along.